Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. And tonight's Raw was held from the KeyBank Center in Buffalo, New York. And I gotta say, tonight's Raw, I thought it was a decent show. Wasn't a great show by any means. I thought it was much better. Thought it was better than Extreme Rules last night, which Extreme Rules was a terrible shit show, in my opinion. But Raw was, but like I said, Raw was decent tonight. I mean, there were some matches that were, but I just thought it was decent. And Raw opened up tonight with Kurt Angle in the ring. Kurt Angle thanked every Raw superstar that competed at Extreme Rules. And he says, last night he gave Lesnar an ultimatum, which was to show up to Raw and negotiate who Lesnar will defend the Universal Championship against. And that Kurt also said that if Lesnar doesn't show up to Raw, he's going to strip Lesnar of the Universal Championship. And Kurt said, it's been 24 hours and he hasn't heard from Lesnar or his representatives. So he ends up saying he's going to strip the Universal Championship off, from Lesnar. But then Paul Heyman then comes out. Kurt says, if Lesnar, doesn't come out, he tells Heyman that if Lesnar doesn't come out, then Paul Heyman's just wasting, his time, is wasting Kurt's time. And Heyman says, Lesnar is not here tonight. Of course, one is, Lesnar's not, always there all the time. And Heyman says, of course, Lesnar's not here tonight. Kurt then goes and says, he's stripping the Universal Championship. Then, Heyman then interrupts Kurt. Heyman is telling Kurt that Lesnar loves being in WWE. Yeah, if he loves being in WWE, why isn't he showing up? Ask me that. So Heyman says that. He also says that Lesnar loves being the Universal Champion. If he loves being the Universal Champion, then why is he not here? Why isn't he not defending it? He's just holding. It's like Lesnar's holding the Universal title hostage and not defending it all the time. Universal Championship is like being hostage. So, and Heyman says, what Lesnar wants to do is represent the entire WWE universe and challenge for the UFC Heavyweight Championship, and he's going to have the Universal Championship around his waist. And so Kurt says Brock Lesnar will defend the Universal Championship at SummerSlam, and if he doesn't, then he's no longer going to be the Universal Champion. And Paul Heyman actually got boos tonight, considering he's supposed to be a heel manager, and them doing with Lesnar not showing up, and people are turning against Lesnar now because he's no longer showing up. He's no longer choosing an opponent who he would challenge to face for his Universal Championship. So it's pretty much working, with people booing the hell out of Lesnar for not showing up. So, and Heyman says Lesnar will defend the Universal Championship at SummerSlam. And he then congratulates the WWE Universe for their voices saying that, we want more of Lesnar, and the crowd starts booing. And Bobby Lashley ends up coming out saying, when he came back to WWE, he had 2 goals in mind. One of them was beating Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules, and the other one is to beat Lesnar and win the Universal Championship. And so Drew McIntyre ends up coming out saying that he came back to WWE for a change and to ensure, the Intercontinental Championship stayed around Dolph Ziggler, around Dolph Ziggler's waist, and that, that was phase 1. And he says phase 2 is the Universal Championship. So, and then we had Seth Rollins come out saying to Kurt, if he's looking for an opponent for Lesnar, it's him. So, okay, so we're getting, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins here. All right, that's pretty cool. And then it goes downhill right here. Elias comes out saying that next week, his debut album drops. Like, I don't give a shit. And he wants to challenge Lesnar and face him for the Universal Championship. And Finn Balor ends up coming out saying that he has one question for Elias, who was the very first Universal Champion. He says, it should be him. It should be Finn versus Lesnar. But, Elias was the first downfall. And then we have Roman Reigns comes out saying that he has no excuses and he doesn't care about, Lesnar. And he asks Kurt, he wants to fight tonight. Kurt Angle says, there will be 2 triple threat matches tonight. And the winners of the triple threat matches tonight will go on next week and face each other one-on-one. And the winner of the match next week will be the number 1 contender for Brock Lesnar's Universal Championship. And he says the first triple threat match will be Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre versus Finn Balor. And the second will be Elias versus Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley. And the first match kicked off with the first triple threat match between Roman versus McIntyre versus Balor. So, but all in all, it was a awesome opening segment. Really decent opening segment to Raw tonight. So, and then when Raw came back with commercial, we saw Kurt Angle walking backstage. Constable Baron Corbin comes and says to Kurt, what is he do? What is Kurt doing? And Corbin berates Kurt for making matches without asking him. And Kurt Angle then says to Corbin that Finn Balor beat him last night. And so Kurt Angle just, kept walking. So, and that was it. That was the backstage thing between Kurt Angle and Corbin. Then we have the triple threat match. Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre. Good, decent triple threat match. Really enjoyable triple threat. Finn Balor and Drew McIntyre were really decent in the match. You had one point where Drew McIntyre leapt over the top rope and took out Roman Reigns, which was really awesome. And then Finn Balor was on the apron and hit he hit Drew McIntyre in the back with the feet, or with the double a double feet to Drew McIntyre in the back. You had one point where Drew McIntyre had a chair and was hitting Finn Balor with it. Finn Balor also in the match, he relinquished the chair and he just started hitting it at Roman Reigns, and the crowd was cheering for that. The crowd was really loving that. Roman actually speared Drew McIntyre outside. I'd say it was a cool looking spear. Roman Reigns then got the win. He hit the spear on Finn Balor, and I'm like, Roman Reigns wins the match. We all know that, we all know WWE. We know they do it for Roman, and this match showed here. When Roman Reigns won the match, typical WWE, they do it for Roman. Nobody wants to see Roman back in the title picture. And right from here, I knew going into the second triple threat match, I knew where this was going to head. And I'm going to get to that when I talk about the second triple threat match. So Roman Reigns wins the match. He had some people cheering him, which why? And then he saw like some people booing him. But yeah, Roman Reigns is back in the fucking title picture. Yeah, so overall, it was a decent triple threat match. I liked it. Then we had Bayley was backstage with Kurt Angle. She says to Kurt, where is Sasha? And Kurt says, Sasha is not here. Kurt then asks Bayley about, the counseling, and Bayley ends up telling him that, she tried, she really tried, and the counseling between her and Sasha didn't work out, and she doesn't think her and Sasha will be together again. Kurt Angle ends up telling her that, she's wrong, with what she's saying. And he wants her and Sasha to settle it in the ring in a tag team match against Dana Brooke and Alicia Fox. And Kurt Angle also tells Bayley that if she and Sasha can't get along, then one of them will be traded to SmackDown. So pretty much that was the backstage segment with Bayley and Kurt Angle. And it was decent. Then we had Dolph Ziggler end up coming out. Says, last night at Extreme Rules, he put on an absolute clinic. And he says, move over, Robert Downey Jr. He is Iron Man. And he goes, he's still the Intercontinental Champion. He says Dolph says the Intercontinental Championship main evented a pay-per-view for the first time in 17 years. So it's been that long since the Intercontinental Championship was main evented at a pay-per-view. Very, very long time. And he says, it wasn't because of Seth, that the Intercontinental Championship was being main evented at the pay-per-view last night. And Dolph says he came back to Raw and put everyone on notice. He says he respects everything that Seth did for the Intercontinental Championship. And he goes on to say that Seth is no Dolph Ziggler. And out came Bobby Roode saying to Dolph that, he didn't give credit to Drew McIntyre for his win. And if it wasn't for Drew, he would not, Dolph wouldn't be out bragging about, winning the Iron Man match, still being the Intercontinental Champion, And he says, Roode says to Dolph that if it wasn't for McIntyre, Dolph would be down in a comedy club telling bad jokes, because Dolph is also a comedian. He does comedy shows from time to time, but he doesn't do it all the time. And Roode says he's out to challenge Dolph for the Intercontinental Championship, which he wants to have. And Dolph says to Roode he can have a match with him, but not for the Intercontinental Championship. So it's just a standard regular match. It was Dolph Ziggler versus Bobby Roode. And the match itself, it was decent. It was back and forth between both of them. Dolph Ziggler really enjoyed him in the match. And, of him coming off that Iron Man match that I really liked last night. Sorry about that, but I was saying, Dolph Ziggler was decent in the match after coming off the Iron Man match last night at Extreme Rules, which I really liked, which I thought was a good main event. And, even though the crowd shitted on the match with the countdown, just like how they do at the Royal Rumble, which, was funny at first, but it got annoying really fast. Dolph ended up getting the win. He ended up hitting a super kick to Bobby Roode. So Dolph Ziggler wins the match, but it was a decent match. It was enjoyable, in my opinion. Then we had Bobby Lashley backstage saying, he's talking about Brock Lesnar, saying the Beast has fought nobody like him, and that he will be the Universal Champion. Lashley will be the next Universal Champion. So it was a little backstage promo from Lashley. Then we saw Bobby Roode backstage. Mojo Rawley ends up coming up to him, and he starts, clapping at him. Says to Roode, "And you're supposed to be glorious." And then Mojo ended up walking off. Roode had nothing to say about that. So then we had Mojo Rawley versus Tyler Breeze. This was a boring match, in my opinion. Although Mojo Rawley, building up Mojo to be, this good, heel. But who knows how it's going to work out. I think nobody gives a shit about Mojo Rawley. So Mojo got the win with the Alabama Slam to Tyler Breeze. Shitty match, in my opinion. And the next match, it was Sasha and Bayley versus Dana Brooke and Alicia Fox. This match, it was okay. Wasn't great or perfect by any means, though, but it was back and forth between them. The match ended in a no contest because it was all over the place. Sasha ended up helping Bayley by taking out Dana Brooke and Alicia Fox. And the referee ended up calling for the bell, so it ended in a no contest. Or was a... Yeah, so... But all in all, it was okay match, but the end was... Yeah. So... Then we had Sasha. Sasha was backstage. Bayley comes and says, to Sasha, what was that all about? Sasha says, she cares about Bayley and that she loves, she loves her, she thinks, she's a good person. She says she loves Bayley, always have and always will. So, where are they going with this now? Are they trying to make Sasha and Bayley this, are they going to do like a lesbian angle with the both of them? Because after watching this this backstage segment with them, it looked like Sasha had feelings for Bayley, and what she say? "Oh, I love you, Bayley. Always have and always will." So, are they going with this angle? Are they going to go with it? Because it kind of looks like that. It gave me like a vibe that WWE is actually gonna try and do this possibly. But who knows? But then we had Renee Young interviewing Braun Strowman about what he did to Kevin Owens last night. And, does Strowman have any regrets? Strowman says he does regret having an opportunity to congratulate Kevin Owens last night. And he also says no matter who wins the triple threat, the last triple threat, and he goes on to say at SummerSlam, he has the Money in the Bank briefcase because he can cash it in at any time. So it was a decent interview with Strowman. Then we had the B team, Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas versus the Ascension. This was a shitty match, in my opinion. Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas win. After the match, Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt say to the B team that next week they have a rematch and they are going to take back what belongs to them. And Matt says the B team will be deleted. So, all in all, B team versus Ascension, it was a shitty match. Then we had Alexa Bliss and Mickie James ended up coming out. Alexa says, she left Extreme Rules, still the Raw Women's Champion. And she says last night she wrote the final chapter in the Alexa Nia story. And she says, she dominated this, the entire women's division, and she outsmarted every woman in the division. And she says, she has beaten every single woman in the entire Raw locker room. She goes on to say that after last night, Ronda should be suspended indefinitely because the crowd was chanting for Ronda Rousey. And Ronda ended up coming down from the crowd. And, Alexa and Mickie are trying to make their way to the back. Ronda ends up blocking off Alexa from, going to the back. And Ronda comes down, and because Alexa and Mickie try to run back, to the ring, Ronda ends up chasing them down. She ends up taking Mickie. She ends up slamming Mickie. She ends up trying to put Mickie James in the armbar, but the refs end up, dragging her away, dragging Mickie James away. Ronda then comes and leaps on the refs, and it takes down the refs and Alexa and Mickie. And we see her grab Alexa by her hair. She ends up tossing Alexa back in the ring. And she ends up trying to put Alexa in the armbar. But the refs end up coming and breaking her away from Ronda. And Kurt ends up coming out, says to Ronda that she has 2 days of her suspension left. And he ends up telling Ronda to go home. And Corbin comes out, says to Kurt that he should put his foot down and do his job. And Kurt says he's going to add another week of Ronda's suspension. And Corbin, of course, doesn't like that. So he decides to call Stephanie, but he finds out that he left his phone in the office. And Kurt ends up saying to Ronda he's given her a match with Alexa once Ronda's suspension is up. And he tells her if Ronda ever pulls a stunt like that again, the match goes away. The match, he's canceling the match. And Kurt ends up saying that at SummerSlam, Ronda is going to face Alexa for the Raw Women's Championship. So, but all in all, it was a decent segment with Alexa. And so Ronda is going to have her chance at Alexa for the Raw Women's Championship come SummerSlam. So that's going to be interesting to see. Then we had Charlie Caruso. She interviewed Seth Rollins about heading into the triple threat match tonight and how he feels after his Iron Man match last night. Seth says, tonight, is going to be his night. Next week is going to be his night, and SummerSlam will be his night. And he goes on to say that he's got respect for Roman, calls him his brother, and if his road to SummerSlam, if he's got to go through Roman, then he has to do what he has to do. And he goes on to say that if he knows Roman like he thinks he does, Roman will do the same thing. And that's how the interview with Seth ended. But decent interview with Seth. Then we had Authors of Pain versus Titus Worldwide, Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews. This was a meh match. Wasn't that good. Wasn't great. Easy win for the Authors of Pain. They won the match. They ended up hitting the last chapter to Apollo Crews. So easy win for Authors of Pain. Match was meh. Wasn't that good. Then we had Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan. We saw them backstage. No Way Jose and his conga line ended up coming for some random reason. They were partying backstage. So it was just basically a random backstage segment that led Raw into commercial. Then we had Sarah Logan versus Ember Moon. And this match was decent because of Ember Moon. Ember Moon was entertaining in the match. Sarah Logan did decently. And you had at points Liv Morgan trying to interfere in the match. Liv Morgan interfered toward the at the end of the match where Ember Moon was on the top, and then we had Sarah Logan just rammed right into Ember Moon. Ember ended up falling over the top, and Sarah Logan ended up pinning Ember Moon. So Sarah Logan ends up winning the match. But match was decent, in my opinion. Then we had the main event, the second triple threat match, which I knew where this was going to head. So we had Elias out again. He was shitting on Buffalo, saying that Buffalo is full of lost souls. And once again, he plugs his debut album, which comes out on the 23rd. And he sings about how he's stuck in Buffalo and that he would watch paint dry, then listen to Lashley speak. He says Seth Rollins should go and take a dive off of Niagara Falls. So then we had Seth Rollins come out. Then it was Bobby Lashley, and then the match got underway, and it was a decent main event. It was an enjoyable main event. Mostly due to Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, after his Iron Man match last night, he still delivered tonight. Still was entertaining. Every week when Seth comes out, he just steals the show. He's the best thing of Monday Night Raw, along with Braun Strowman. But in the end, Bobby Lashley ended up winning the match. He ended up hitting the spear to Elias, which Seth Rollins was going to go for the pin, but Elias ended up dragging out Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, was trying to go get the pin, but Elias wasn't allowing it, so he dragged Seth Rollins out, and Elias was going to go for it, but Bobby Lashley ended up spearing Elias. So Bobby Lashley ends up winning the match, and that's when he hit the spear, I knew right there we were going to get Lashley versus Roman once again. We just saw them go at it last night. Why didn't they make their match last night at Extreme Rules an opportunity for the Universal Championship? Have either one of them face Lesnar for the Universal Championship. I want it to be Lashley. I didn't want Roman again. I don't want to see Roman take on Lesnar again. But we all know WWE. We all know next week they're going to make Roman win it. They're going to make Roman beat Lashley. Roman's going to SummerSlam. And it's going to be Roman versus Lesnar for the Universal Championship. Mark my words. It's going to happen. Roman's going to win it. Roman's probably going to win the Universal Championship at SummerSlam, or Lesnar is going to retain. Who knows? But then it gives Strowman the chance to come out, cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase, and win the Universal Championship at SummerSlam. We all know where this is going. We all see where they're taking this. So the only reason, like I said, Strowman is going to probably cash in at SummerSlam and win the Universal Championship, so the fans will not be pissed off at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And like I said, we all know where this is going. And that match, mark my words, if it's Roman versus Lesnar, which it's going to be, nobody in the Brooklyn crowd is going to want to see that. They're all, I bet you, they're all going to do the wave. They're not going to care about the match. We're all going to see them do the wave. There's going to be beach balls being thrown around at the Barclays Center during the match. You know it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. People don't want to see Roman in the title picture again and get another shot at Lesnar. And we gotta see this match again next week between Lashley and Roman, when we just fucking saw it last night. But anyways, the match, the second triple threat, the main event, it was a decent main event. It was enjoyable. Really enjoyed Seth Rollins in the match. So, yes, anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for my SmackDown review, which is going to be happening tomorrow night, of course. So until then, I'll see you all tomorrow night. Bye.